solution which will make all of us jobless. One, I am a firm believer that disability is a political problem. And because there is a lack of political will, there is a lack of disabled-friendly policies with the governments across the world, disability remains the way it is. I also believe because it is a lack of political will that disability is an afterthought. Disability is always looked at a charity and a welfare and a good to do thing. And it is never a part of the mainstream discourse. I come from India, as you all know, and India is the most populous country in the world. And it also holds the highest number of people with disability in the world. If I quote the census figure of 2011 by Government of India, it's about 26.8 million people with disability. So those who are from this part of the world can imagine the number which I'm talking about, more than a population of quite a few countries together. And I think India is a young country and it has a lot of potential, and it's really moving fast. And in one of the first country to ratify UNCRPD, one of the first country to come up with a disability legislation which is harmonized with the UNCRPD, the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016. I think one of the game changer legislation if you look at it globally. I think if you look at the 26 million people with disability, it is a significant number, in a global context as well. Yet, their political participation is minuscule. We never see a political party specifically coming and talking about disability as a mainstream issue, looking at disability being as an investment. It is always a cost, always looked at something to be done after the development is over. And nothing that we have, which is in context of elections, is accessible for people with disability. I mean, governments are the highest procurers. I think a country like India can procure billions of rupees every year, and they procure things which creates barrier. And I think it is because of lack of political will. And if you procure, if you keep people with disability in everyday decision-making process, I think a lot of these barriers will be there, and all of us will be able to support in creating that kind of thing. If you look at our initiative from NCPEDP, we just had elections in 5 states in last year, towards the end, and we worked in the 5 states with organizations with people with disabilities and reached out to political parties to bring in manifestos, include disability in their manifestos based on demand made by these organizations of persons with disability, and we were successful in getting it done in 3 states. As I speak in 2024, India is heading for the general elections. And one of the biggest exercise globally, I think enormous, I mean huge exercise when you want to conduct elections in India. The whole world is watching. And from last 1 year, we have been trying to monitor, and also we looked at the previous year, 2019 elections. And if you look at the manifestos of people with, of political parties, minus 1 or 2 major political parties, there was no mention of disability cell or no outreach. And how do you think these problems will be solved? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the resources? How much can we do? We can make noise, we can create awareness, we can share our ideas, but how do we have the capacity to scale it up, to take care of the whole world, 1 billion people, if you're talking about, without political will, without the governments coming ahead and taking these solutions as part of their work? So I think it's very important time for us in 2024 that globally, the 60 countries are going into elections. And in India, we at NCPEDP, we have started to create a manifesto for disability. And as I speak, we have received more than 10,000 people with disabilities, corporates, education institutions, given their feedback, endorsing this manifesto. And I think in a week's time, we'll be able to release this manifesto with all the major political parties and mobilize more and more people. India has more than 10 million registered voters. I think 10 million voters can decide who will form government. And I don't think people with disabilities realize this power of their vote. I don't think people with disability across the world realize the power of their voting, the power that they can form a government, they can bring down a government, they can participate on an equal basis with others. They need to have a dialogue, they need to have a seat on the table. And this is where I wanted to share this with all of you here, not that I have a specific solution. I wanted to share this idea. And European Union is a great example. If you look at the European Union Disability Forum, they have been working on a very extensive manifesto for the European Union elections. I think this is where I think we all need to lobby. Everybody who is part of the Zero Conference comes from a position of influence, whether they are a grassroots organization or a national organization or a regional or international. I think they all they need to use this time, at least in 2024, with wherever they are, however they can influence, to reach out to people with disabilities, to create the kind of buzz that is required to bring the spotlight on disability. And I reiterate my point that disability cannot be an afterthought. Disability cannot be running on sponsorships. It cannot be run on CSRs. It has to be a development agenda. It has to be part of the mainstream solutions. And I don't have a longer talking point or a presentation. I just wanted to put these thoughts in everybody's mind, and I look forward to each one of your support and anything that we can do and share this knowledge with anybody. Feel free to reach out to us on, the details are on our website, that is ncpedp.org.